Hi, everybody. My name is Alon Werber. I'm the CEO of Pixellot. And I want to thank you all for having me here today in this important conference. Unfortunately, I cannot be in person at your nice country. It's crazy times, so you'll have to see me today from my office. And I would like to talk today about the artificial intelligence and automation revolution and how they will impact the content creation space, the sport content creation space, both live and also short forms and personalized content. So let's start. So we all know that around 1% of the games is where the industry is focusing today. 1% of the high audience games is actually captured in the players, and there's so many technologies to provide better and better experience to the fans. And this is actually working. We are focused on the 99% of the players, moments, and events which are lost. I'm talking, in some cases, these might even be Division 1 games, which does not have the budget, or places where it's complex operationally, and all the way to women's sport, lower divisions in variety of sports, and of course, youth, and even smaller leagues than that. So this is where we feel the real revolution can happen. And I'm talking about a huge unserved market. Around 250 million registered players, which are not filmed and tracked in a more professional manner. I mean, you might capture them in your iPhone or Android, but they are not captured in a professional way. There are 200 million events that are happening in registered leagues and registered players, not two kids in a park, which are not captured today. There are more than 5 billion missed games highlight moments. I'm talking about baskets scored in a basketball game, or goals, or in volleyball, which are very important for certain fans and are very important for the players themselves, of course, and are not captured. There are around 2 million local sport venues which do not have a video capturing solution. Many of them will have scoring solution, but not video. And as video is the heart of everything in sport, for the fans, for the players, for the scouts, for the coaches, we believe that in the future, not so far future, this will become almost a mandatory part of any solution. Typically poor quality, if someone captures its iPhone, it's hard to edit, it's hard to have highlights or to tag and collect data on the games. Traditional TV didn't have enough capacity before the OTT came along and opened so many options for new channels and personalized content. And the conventional production was almost always expensive, moving from thousands of dollars to a game to much more than that in higher production requirement. What happens? I mean, what is changing now? So there are two obstacles to allow a production of so many more content to so many more players and fans. One was the distribution. Distribution, we had to have affordable and personalized distribution to justify the capturing and distribution of so many games, which do not have huge audiences and cannot really justify huge cost. This is addressed through the OTT revolution. I'll talk about that. The other piece, distribution, the other piece is the content creation. The content creation must be much more affordable. It has to be unique, and it has to be high quality. Today, as I said, the costs are in the thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars per game, and this cannot be justified for lower league, women's sport, and even many Division 1 sport. And this is where Pixellot and some other companies are focused about allowing content creation, which is much cheaper, very easy operational, and can actually lend itself to the new ways people are consuming content, personalized, short bites, and of course live. Let's talk about the OTT. This is the distribution part. I think all of you are familiar with the OTT, which allows to actually bypass cable, satellite, and broadcast services and provide a great distribution to smaller audiences if required, at smaller prices, and at a much more personalized manner. Let's see some of the figures. In the US alone, we expect the OTT to reach 80 million subscribers, consumers next year. As you can see, some of them are cord nevers, users who were never using cables, and some cord cutters. So this is a clear, strong trend of transitioning to consumption of content, including sport content, through OTT. As I explained, this one piece, the OTT was quite expensive a few years back, but is becoming very affordable and very agile. So it's easy for a club or a league or federation to adjust the OTT to exact needs and handle even smaller audience size than was ever available before in an affordable price, and apply different types of models, be it AVOD or SVOD, which is subscription VOD. AVOD is all the advertising and sponsorship, and in between, all kind of hybrid models as well. And already, as we talk today, according to a Verizon media research, 55% of live sport is already consumed off TV from phones, mobile, tablets, etc. And this is another part of the change in this market. So TV is not anymore the main way to consume. All other devices are becoming bigger and bigger parts of the consumption process. And as I said, as phones are used, mobile, tablets, etc., there is much more personalization in the way content is created and consumed. So different users can view the game from different angles often. They can tag it to themselves and they can have the short clips as they wish. This was not possible in traditional TV. And any solution out there for content creation in the future will need to take this into account and allow those type of consumption experiences. Talking about Korea specifically, you can see the devices which are used to see highlights of sports, and smartphone already bypassed television. So all the phenomena I just described and the dynamics I described are happening in a big way in Korea already. Let's talk about the other piece. So distribution is one piece. This is happening. Let's talk about the content creation, which in many aspects is even more complex. To have live production, which looks good and can be handled in different infrastructural scenarios of internet and light conditions, is not easy. And this is where Pixellot is really focusing. Content creation automation is booming. Live and highlights. More live production and sport highlights, freeing up editorial teams to focus on other content, and growing viewer engagement and ad revenue by creating personalized recommendations. Let's just look at our own Pixellot figures as a representative of this market to see what is really happening here. So these are the hours, live hours produced month by month from January 2017 on the left side, 700 hours only, to January 2020 on the right-hand side, which reached almost 90,000 hours and see the huge increase in the last in 2019. And this, I think, is representative of the demand, the huge demand for content, which can also serve not just a tier one, very high-paying leagues, but all the rest: women's sport, high school, universities, even Division One in secondary sport, and sometimes Division One in prime sport when the budgets are not out there, and of course youth sport, etc., etc. And of course, the COVID had strong negative effect because at start, none of the leagues really work worldwide. But look what happens afterwards. What happened just lately when some of the leagues started to resume, and there was a growing need really for such technologies, because right now, beyond this dynamics and this trend, there's also closed doors, and in some cases, the only way for leagues to resume and still retain connection with the fan and still retain revenue opportunities is through much cheaper production and much safer production, which is two things that automatic production and automatic highlights and content creation can provide. So in October, Pixellot specifically would already be much higher. It will be the strongest month ever, although in some of the territories around the world, the leagues are still closed. So we expect this growth to be exponential in the future. Let's see why this is happening, why this is boom in automatic production. I think the obvious reason is cost and simplicity in operation. You can see a comparison of the cost per game in different types of production. Pixellot has two levels of production. One is complete automation, where you have a fixed system with few cameras. No one needs to be in the venue. All you do is schedule a game and define the type of sport, because Pixellot supports 15 different types of sports using different AI packages and algorithms. If you want to have not just the one automatic, but also two sideline cameras, so a more advanced production, even for TV, and the cost will go from $40 to $100, give or take, per game, to less than $1,000. And this is compared to remote production, and of course, Orbivan-based production of 12 cameras, which are in the many thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. And I think these comparisons are self-explanatory, explaining why this is happening now. When the automatic production, automatic creation of content becomes robust, good SLA, and good quality, it's obvious why some of the leagues will move to this type of solution, and some leagues which were never covered in sport, which were never covered, suddenly has the opportunity to get covered now. The COVID-19, as I said, accelerated the content creation revolution. And I think some of the reasons are quite obvious. A, closed door. Fans cannot go to the venues. And in some cases, the fans were the only revenue, the main. So coming to the venues and paying tickets was the main income. And suddenly it doesn't exist. The games will often even not captured. So now the only way to keep the fan engaged is through some sort of very much more economical type of production. The athletes safety is important. So when you have large crews coming in, coming nearby athletes, that's a problem in COVID times. You need diversified revenue streams right now, more so than in the past, because suddenly you need the production. If there's a league which didn't have a production, the only way now to get pay-per-view money or sponsorship or ads is through production. And of course, you want to have the content expanded to more fans. And as I described, the cost saving. Many of the federations and associations and leagues were hit quite bad in the budgets, even those who are now getting back to business. And we can sense it out in the market. There's a bigger pressure to cut costs and retain productivity. This is from a PwC recent survey about the implications of the COVID on sports. And the biggest, the most, I think, obvious, but also this is part of the survey, most likely outcome of the COVID-19 crisis, that sport organization will increase funding and efforts to accelerate digital transformation. Just like the phenomena in other markets, not just in the sport business. So regarding the COVID, the catch-22 fan safety is that, of course, if there's no fan, there are no game day revenues, no revenues. If there are no revenues, there's no way to justify the coverage. If there's no coverage, there's no engagement. The only way to bypass this phenomena is by having safe and very affordable and cheap and good quality content, which is captured both for the live, but also for the highlights and the short form that can be used by customers. And if it allows the end user at home to use an app and really be their own sort of editors, and so you can actually create your own replays and tag your own the moves you're interested, then this is even an extra benefit that exists with this type of production. Pixellot is the world's leading AI automated sport content creation company, established in 2014. We have 150 employees. We are covering already 12,000 fields and venues worldwide, all over the world. A big activity in the US, South America, China, Japan, other countries, all the large sport markets in Europe, Africa, and other territories. We are capturing, as you saw the figures, more than 100,000 monthly live hours. Just to give you a benchmark, ESPN will typically capture around 25,000 live hours a year. We do it 100,000 annually. Of course, we address smaller audiences, but from a production and scale standpoint, this is quite challenging. We are covering 16 types of sports, starting from volleyball. Pixellot has more than 1 million live hours produced to date, and this is critical because all those hours are tagged, and they are the way we are training and improving our AI. This is the way AI works. You need to train the AI for the AI to identify the next type of behavior. For example, if it's a fast break or a corner, the more corners that are tagged or fast break, the AI will be better in understanding that this is now a corner and producing accordingly. The vision, Pixellot vision, is sport democratization, so allowing to deliver more sports than ever at a fraction of the cost. So it allows to deliver more secondary sport, empower women's sport. We captured more than 200,000 hours of women's sport today, cover youth sports, increase community engagement and participation. Let's see some figures, anecdotal figures about Pixellot. I think it'll give you a sense of our activity today. So as I said, a lot of women's sport, more than 2.5 million athletes were broadcasted live with our systems worldwide, working with our partners. 500,000 goals were captured using our systems. 5 million baskets were captured in basketball. More than 500,000 games were produced. In the US alone, we have more than 5,000 high schools, which are covering all the sports using us. More than 150 leagues are covered worldwide in all the territories I mentioned. In essence, every minute in average, we are delivering a live game somewhere around the world. Selected customers include, from higher demand customers such as ESPN, and Turner Sport, and NEP, and IMG, to customers in lower tiers such as the National Federation High Schools in the US, or CSM in China, in our partners in South America, in Brazil, Globo, Levira, Hockey TV, which is an OTT for more than 200 ice hockey rinks, and more and more. And of course, some of our partners are the large sport betting players such as Sportradar, Genius, Stats Perform, IMG, and many, many others. Some of our partners where we focus on professional coaching are one of most of the leading tier one clubs in the soccer space. We have a strategic partnership with Fc Barcelona with more than 90 fields covered, with Real Madrid with 8 fields covered, Bayern Munich, Serie A teams in Italy, all the Division 1 league in Mexico, in China, many partners, and more and more. I want to talk about Pixellot through 4 use cases. I want to talk about our products. We have a range of products, starting with a more demanding production requirement. We call it the Pixellot Prime. This supports 1560 frames per second, so it suits high quality TV demands. You can add additional cameramans and an editor which can control everything manually. It can be fully automatic or also controlled by an editor, which can provide also slow-mo and a lot of replays and all the things you used to have in a more advanced production. This will serve the likes of ESPN+, NEP, Prime Video. The second fully automated set of products, we call them the Pixellot Show. This is an end-to-end mass market automatic production, starting from the capturing the video itself with the camera, through the production, streaming, and many monetization options. With or without our OTT, you can apply your own OTT or use our OTT. And you can also add a lot of services for stats based on the game will be captured through the video, which can then be turned around into highlights of the game and statistics for coaches. Partners will typically be organizations like Grupo Globo, NFHS, IMG, and many others. And the new line of business, which is, we think, a revolutionary set of products, which will be launched actually in November, starting in the US, which allows end users like parents and coaches to actually use wide-angle cameras like GoPro and others in a full SaaS model. So in some cases, you don't need our equipment at all. It is typically not live. It serves for youth teams which want to have the entire game captured, and will be you captured a panoramic view of the field. Just put your GoPro, go home, upload it, and it will return through an OTT with the game produced, highlight of the game, and in some sports like basketball, personal highlights of the game, all automatic to the parents and the teams. We also have a separate line of product for coaching. These are video analysis solutions. As I said, this serves the more elite clubs and provide a very deep view or very rich options to cut clips, go back in time, create replays on the fly through the game and also after the game, and share them through many of the platforms that are out there for coaching purposes. How does it work? So the way the system works, so we provide the entire end-to-end, the camera itself, the video processing unit. We have a strong software for optimization. So even if the venue does not have a lot of bandwidth, even 2 or 3 meg of upload is enough for us. We'll have the tools to optimize adaptive bitrate and maybe many other techniques to allow the stream to still look good, even if the infrastructure is limited, or if the internet is unstable. We have a layers of enrichment, adding the graphics automatically, providing ads, pre-roll, mid-roll, many other ways, or monetization through our OTT for pay-per-view or subscription or you name it. And of course, backend, we have a strong backend because we are managing sometimes 1,500 games concurrently at the same time. So we have large teams in a NOC where the analytics, any issue that pops up in the game is popped up automatically and allows us with a reasonable team to manage so much content around the world. I mentioned the OTT, which is an option. So some of our partners are using their own OTT. Some can get our OTT as a white label. And of course, it allows cross distribution to stream it to any destination our partners wish. It can be streamed through our app or through the OTT or through Facebook or YouTube or you name it, according to your needs. So the first piece, you will set the camera once. It's a rig with 2 or 4 cameras, no moving parts, weatherproof. You put it once in the venue, and from then on, you don't need to visit this camera anymore for years to come. What will happen, the 4 cameras in this case, in some cases it's 2 cameras, will capture slices of the field, and we will create a stitching, live stitching and panoramic, which allows us now to have a view of the entire field in a relatively low cost with good resolution, so we can zoom in and out automatically. Okay. The other thing we'll do live is do all the operations which a professional camera man will do with automatic color corrections, white balancing, all the stuff that the cameraman will have to do, our software will do. So we will treat differently a field that has a very strong shadow, and we will address it with adjustments of the way we capture the video automatically. Based on daytime or nighttime, the same system can do both. The main activity we'll do is, of course, following all the moving objects live. We have calibration of the venue. The calibration takes only a few minutes. You do it once, you don't need to do it again. And then the system will detect state of the game. And by detecting the state of the game, out of the panoramic, the system will create a virtual frame, which is what the end user will see. So you can see this is production done completely by the software. So we realize what's happening on the field. We know the goal was just made, and we know how to follow all the moving objects. You can see on the upper side how we follow the moving objects and what is the result in the lower side. Then we can incorporate all kinds of graphics which you used to see. We can capture the scoring in the 4 variety of ways. Typically, it's OCR. So we film the scoring and we translate it into digital, so it can be really presented in any way you wish in terms of graphics. But we can also incorporate sponsorship, as you can see on the right-hand side. Again, based on the needs of our and the sponsors of our partners, which are the partners in this specific territory, which are actually in charge of the rights and producing to the using us to produce to their end users. The OTT solution we provide is available either as API and SDK, allows to watch live and VOD, multi-screen, of course, incorporating both highlights and personal clips, along with the live production, of course, allowing to share through social networks, and of course, enabling all the business models which you might be interested, either advertisement, subscription, pay-per-view, etc. This might, of course, be as a white label or incorporated in your own OTT as well. We are providing automatic highlights. I'll show you some examples, either automatic. So in basketball, for example, we know to track automatically the basket and the jersey of the player, so we can provide personal highlights along the game highlights. It can also be tag-based. We have a platform that allows to tag. It's called VidSwap. It's a professional platform where you our video will also be fed to Vitswa, and we can provide a service that tags everything and provides not just statistics for everything, but also highlights. The installation is very fast and intuitive. This was important to us. Part of it is we need only limited bandwidth. So not all venues, especially when you go to tier 2, 3, or youth, will have huge internet, but the installation should also be simple. And in many cases, our partners would know to install themselves, or we provide the service whenever it's required. You see some examples of installation in lower leagues and high-end leagues of the system. I talked a bit about monetization, and what we want to allow is our partners or the federations or league to monetize in a variety of ways, whatever suits their needs. So sponsorship opportunities, presenting logos, videos on the portal, media enabled in video on a portal in videos like pre-roll or mid-rolls and other ways, allowing to set up subscriptions for payment packages. They are ad-free or pay-per-view individual games. And I think this is very important to many of the sports, enabling betting. So we are integrated to all the leading betting players, and we are meeting the latency requirements of these betting partners. So if we are coming into a venue or our partners have a venue or a league that the content might be interesting for one of the betting, large betting players, then we are enabling it. So you can have in the same system, serving both the fans with the way I just presented, but also sending a feed to the betting partners, a low latency feed. We enable, as Pixellot, with our partners, we have a variety of business models. It can either be a full service where all our partner wants to get is the feed, doesn't care about all the other options. I mean, doesn't want to deal with the installation or any of the issues of tier 1, 2 will provide all of that. Going through allowing subscription, National Federation High Schools have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, which are paying $10 per subscriber to view the huge content we are creating with our partners in the NFHS. Go through season passes as we did in the San Diego League. Hockey TV is providing subscription, much like the NFHS, only for ice hockey rings in the US, which is more expensive, more towards the $29 per month. Scottish football are actually charging through pay-per-view or subscription. The Israeli basketball, the same, etc. We have just signed lately, you can see this video, I hope, in a good way, in a reasonable way through the Zoom. We have signed a strategic partnership with FC Barcelona. It was announced, and there was a PR, where our systems are already in FC Barcelona in 19 venues, allowing to cover a lot of the needs of professional coaching, like tactical view, like working on raw data and allowing very high quality clips being generated very easily by any hardly trained analyst. But the other piece is that we are working together to market, together with Barca, to market to soccer academies around the world. Soccer academies have lower budget typically. So you can see our product. We call it the Air product, which is a mobile system that can be set up in 2 or 3 minutes. You don't even need internet or power. It has its own power. And you will capture the game. It's for soccer fields or large fields. Connect to the internet directly, and using an app we have, you'll get all the game produced, the highlights of the game. You can then tag it using our Vitswa platform. and it will also be near live. So this is cheaper system, of course. It will not be live in a latency of a few seconds or half a minute, but rather near live 6-7 minutes later, if it is important. Typically in soccer academies, it's serving mostly the coaches and player performance. So this is the nature of our partnership with Barca. And this is really it. And I want to thank all of you for bearing with me until this minute. That means you were with me until the end of this presentation. And I would love to visit Korea fast. I hope that all this COVID, many sports in Korea, low cost, affordable, easy operation, and safe. So thank you, everybody.